Hi guys, it's Kathy. I figured if I'm going to be early, I can be earlier than being my early. Started a minute early. I already made everybody mad by being early. So, okay. I have some house cleaning to do before we get started. Hi, Stink Eye. So I'm going to take a couple days off of doing live streams. Hi, Tina. Because I have so much stuff. I got trial upon trial upon trial piling up behind me. And I have to get some shorts out. Not shorts that you wear in court, though, because that's wrong. Hold on. I can't. And then I got to get these shirts done. Merch. I got to get the cups done. I have all this content, and it's piling up. And I can't do everything. So I'm going to take a couple of days off of live streaming. Don't ask me how many. I'm still going to post videos. That's the point. I have to get these things packaged and out of there. And I have to get my computer back. But I'm not waiting until I get my computer back to do a live stream. Don't worry. And I'm going to sleep a little bit. I don't know how many days in a row I did lives, but I'm going to count before the end. For the end of this stream, I'll count and see and let you know. So, okay, guys, I don't even know what to say about today. Thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate that. So Judge Frost is the chillest judge we know. Like, he deals with such emotion every day in custody and divorce. And just so you know, that's not all he does. I had a recording of him doing a full appeal decision on a law, on something that had no law for it yet. I didn't have time to play it. But it was, legit. It was legit court lawyer stuff, not just traffic tickets. He does everything, but he also does a lot of family divorces in law and stuff like that, divorces in custody. So every day is very, very emotional in his courtroom. Everybody's emotions are like off the freaking charts. It's your children, it's your money, it's any breakup is bad. Even if the divorce has been coming for 7 years or whatever, you haven't talked to this person in 7 years, every breakup is bad. You date a guy for a week, or you think you're dating, he doesn't. Breakups are bad. So he's very, focus. He is mad today, guys. Now, he's not going to show it, but you're going to feel it. Like, it's going to permeate into you when he talks and he chews these two parents out. My jaw was like, what? Holy cow. I've never seen him. I mean, I've seen him spit facts before, but not like this. Also, Judge Fleischer, I have a tiny clip of him today because he's starting a trial. So he didn't have he had a full docket today, but it was a trial. It was, it was picking the jury. So I only have a small clip of him today I'm going to start with. And then I got an attorney, contempt of court, arrest warrant put out for him. I have the resolution, but I don't have time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the good stuff, tell you what happens, put the rest on Patreon. I'm just going to put it on Patreon. You're going to have to go there. Maybe once I get everything caught up. Wait, I don't see Vordier. Oh, Oh, that was an accident. I got it. I thought I missed someone. I don't want to miss anybody. Hi, Jacques. So that's what's so. All right. One of the videos that I think I'm going to put out today, if I can finish it, please don't feel you have to watch. It's very, very sad. It's a case in Florida where the mom shoots her baby. So morning and now, it's nothing's happy about that. I'm not even going to talk at all for the whole video. I'm just going to write, content words, ghost words, because there's nothing in it to giggle about, but it's interesting. And it's a shame because this courtroom only allowed limited access to the court. So we don't have everything. We only have the small slices that they allowed us to get. And then then I got a better one, guys. I got a better one of a guy who sued the prison because he was treated badly. Oh yeah. Oh man. Donald's home, guys. Donald made it the whole way back to Michigan from Massachusetts. We're so proud of him. He navigated the turnpike like a boss. Donald, welcome home. Okay, I don't have time to talk anymore because this today is jam-packed. That's why I started early. Let's start with Fleischer. Minutes is what I got for you today.
Status, I believe. I can stand by while you do your arraignments.
Yeah, let me just get the arraignments. And if you have one, just pop in. Otherwise, let me just real quick. Okay, Vic, who's this?
Kara, age 11.
You probably saw this somewhere else.
Mr. Guerra, you're charged with reckless driving. You're facing up to 30 days in jail and or a $500 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present during questions and interviews with the state of Texas. You cannot afford a lawyer being appointed to represent you, sir. Please don't say anything. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. On May 27th, 2024, officers caught to a vehicle at speeds of 125 miles per hour.
125?
And the vehicle was still creating distance between the officer and the patrol car. It was very traffic. It was heavy traffic at the time in Harris County. While trying to close the gap between the patrol car and the speeding vehicle, the officer observed the vehicle change lanes in an unsafe manner several times, causing other vehicles to slam on their brakes, avoid striking the speeding vehicle, and the vehicle also did not signal its lane changes. Officers were able to catch up with the vehicle after maxing out the patrol car at its top speed of 135 miles per hour. The vehicle immediately took the exit for Airtex Road and pulled into a Stripes gas station parking lot. The defendant was identified as the driver.
What kind of car was he driving?
Truck. A pickup truck, Your Honor. A silver 2009 Chevy Silverado.
I'm going to find probable cause, Mr. Garrett. Do you realize that it's high up. One false move, boom, 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 ejected from the car, crack your cranium, dead. I'm now taking away your privilege to drive, sir. You're not allowed to drive at all. You're going to sign with me today an affidavit promising me you're not going to drive. I don't care what's going on in your life. If you drive, I will have a contempt hearing. Oh, no. If I find that you drive, I will have a contempt hearing. You'll be facing 6 months in jail and a $500 fine every time you get into a car and drive. You roll your eyes like that again, I'll hold you in contempt. It shows a complete lack of respect. All I want is public safety. That's all I care about. Every single day, someone dies on the road in Harris County because of some boneheaded move. Not here, not today, not anymore. You understand?
Kelly, that's another one that's popping up. That's piling up on me. I want to get that bus. I want to show that bus. I have it. I'm going to show that bus this week.
If you drove here, you may not drive home. Do you understand?
How do I get to work? I don't go to work no more.
I didn't tell you you can work. I just said you can't drive.
I'm a business owner. That's how I make it work. My vehicle gets me to work, sir.
All right, dude. That's it.
I didn't ask for an apology. I said, how do I get to work? How am I gonna
Take
get
an
to work?
Uber. You can find someone else to take. you.
Tase him.
Pool tables. Can't put a pool table in the back of Uber.
Tase him.
I'm just asking. So I'm trying to, I'm
You're gonna have to hire
just trying to
someone for you.
continue to be a citizen and keep my job, right?
You tried to
That's
kill
all.
people.
That's all. That seems a bit much, right? Because somebody, I understand. You're a judge. I'm just trying to make my plea, but you know, I have to work. That's all. I'm just trying to
Work at
continue my
McDonald's.
job. That's it.
But let me tell you something, Mr.
Just trying to
Chair.
continue my job, man. That's it.
The ability to drive is a privilege.
I understand. So I've been in the system long enough to understand what your job is.
You don't understand
I
nothing.
just had a job, sir. That's, I'm sorry. Apologize. I don't want to be here. You know what I mean? I made a mistake. I got a job, right? I got people that work for me. I got people that depend on me. I made mistakes. I
They can drive.
apologize. And
I want to see that you truly mean it. I don't know that now. I don't know
it's
it.
fine.
For right now, I'm taking away your privilege to drive because I want you to appreciate the awesome privilege it is to drive at 135 miles an hour on the road in what, a 65?
Excuse me, Your Honor, it was a freeway.
You're going double.
Put him in jail.
I'm gonna have you sign this affidavit with me. We're gonna reset your case to give you time to hire a lawyer. When you come back, we can talk about it, but I want you to really appreciate it. And I want you to show me how much you appreciate it. But until
Buy
that
him
point, if
candy.
I find that you drive, I will have a contempt hearing. You'll be facing
Lollipops.
6 months in jail and a $500 fine every time you drive. Do you understand? I'm gonna have you sign the affidavit. We'll have you sign a receipt. We'll get you out of here. We'll see you in a month.
Jackass. I love Judge Fleischer.
Como le indiqué, señor, para seguir el centro,
And Louis.
solamente miro el juez y le contesta nada más en español, por favor.
Good morning, Mr. Aguilera.
Señor Aguilera. Buenos días. Good morning.
You're charged with driving while intoxicated.
Good.
You are facing up to 6 months in jail and or a $2,000 fine.
Order in the court.
We're going to do probable cause.
Guys.
You have the
Stop
right to
it.
remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present if you cannot afford one. One will be appointed to you, sir. Okay.
Thank you. On June 4th, 2024, officers were dispatched to an intoxicated driver call who had just departed a 7-Eleven gas station.
Also, on what road, I'm sorry?
Underwood.
Underwood, sur la carretera. Thank you.
The witness, way of the 7-Eleven, and called 911 after observing a white male throwing out
Un
outside
hombre
the store.
vomitando fuera de la
Witnesses
tienda.
observed
Testigos observaron
red bloodshot eyes, and smelled strong odor of alcohol from the male as he spoke with the witness, the employee.
la persona con
Witness
la
also observed the male into a Toyota Camry in disregard of red light. Officers observed a gray Toyota Camry matching the description. Officers conducted the traffic stop on the vehicle. They noted the defendant have a red glassy eyes, thick slurred speech, an odor of alcoholic beverage emanating from his breath. Officers observed an open 3/4 full
There's an open container in the car.
abierto en el carro de 3/4
browsing middle beer. Just local detached. They conducted standard sobriety tests. 66 today's
6 pistas por el estado horizontal,
7 of 8 walked
7 de 8 pistas en camino
2
herido,
were for the one night
3 de
stand.
4 pistas en par de una
The
pierna,
EIC was read.
Parece que yo,
Provided breath sample.
acusado por rodar una muestra de
0.11 and 0.1.
0.1.
He doesn't have any in county and then.
No tiene ningún.
Wow, yeah.
Y doesn't, out of county?
He doesn't have any in-county.
Okay, no, no. Oh.
Mr. Pupo Aguilera, I'm going to find that there's probable cause to go forward with your case.
That's-
Are you a United States citizen?
Yo no. Que si es ciudadano americano.
Oh, no.
No,
Are you in this country
Está en
with
este país.
or without permission?
sin permiso. Con permiso. With permission.
What permission do you have?
Eso tiene usted.
Oh, esperando mi residencia.
Just waiting on my residency.
So you're not here with permission then if you're
Está-
waiting on something.
Permiso si está esperando por algo.
Do you have actual permission to be here?
Permiso para estar aquí usted.
Tengo mis documentos, mi social, permiso de trabajo.
I have my social, my documents, my
licencia.
social security, work permit, and residency.
I don't know if that's true or not.
Si eso es verdad.
Quite frankly, I don't care. The only thing I'm going to impart to you is that if there is any kind of problem with your paperwork, if you are here without documentation, you go to jail. Immigration will find you because they sweep it on a daily basis. If they find you, they will put a detainer on you. You will remain in custody until immigration is done with you, which usually takes 6 months, 9 months, maybe a year. They're so backed up, you sit in custody until they're done with you. The fact that you have an open container in the car is a minimum of 5 days in jail to any sentence that you get in this case. And I'm gonna tell you, you do that time, I guarantee immigration will put a detainer on you. Do you have a Texas driver license?
¿Esa, señor? Yes, sir. ¿Cuál es el rastro de su
Do you
licencia?
have liability insurance in your name?
Yes.
You're only allowed to drive if you have both, and I want proof prior to us allowing you to drive. I am ordering you now as a condition of your bond not to consume alcohol, illegal drugs, or unprescribed controlled medication. And I'm going to randomly test you. If I find that you're consuming alcohol or any kind of illegal drugs, I will put you in jail.
Cárcel.
You understand?
¿Entiende? Que si entiende, conteste el primero. Sí. Yes, sir. Tranquilo, me todo.
The only thing I'm asking you to
Lo
do
único que le estoy pidiendo que haga
is do not drink,
es que no beba y
do not pick up any new cases. As long as you can abide by these conditions, you and I will be fine.
yo vamos a estar bien. ¿Entendió?
I see that you do have a lawyer.
Un abogado.
Good job having a lawyer.
Bueno, tener
He will take care of you, but you must stay in contact with Mr. Pellerin. He will tell you when you have to come back to court.
no sé cuándo va a
If he
tener-
tells me that he cannot get a hold of you, you're ducking and dodging his phone calls, I will issue a warrant for your arrest.
Por favor, esto, señor.
So,
Entonces,
no drinking,
beba,
no drug use,
use drogas.
not pick up any new
No tenga
cases,
ningún caso nuevo.
stay in contact with your lawyer.
Comunicación con su abogado. Tranquilo, no va a estar bien.
That would be a
Pero
yes,
pasó algo de lo
Carolyn.
que dice y todo va a estar bien. ¿Entendió?
I hope.
Now, I will have you
Por
go
ahora,
for
va a pasar
and
un
sign a
poco de
reset.
firmar
After
la
that,
herramienta
it will
después de
trace
eso,
it to your bond condition,
va a
and just have you
firmar
waiting
la
back.
confianza con Tracy y después toma un asiento para esperar por su abogado, ¿entendido? Sí, señor, no, señor. Conteste. Sí, señor, no, señor. Sí, señor. Yes, sir.
He's always a driver. Awesome.
Judge, may I approach?
This
Morning.
guy.
What's new?
Nothing much, except I've seen that you've become somewhat of a celebrity.
Alright.
That's about it.
That's our celebrity. That's our celebrity. Good job, Judge. Good job. And he's like, no, no. Yes, Judge. Yes, everybody loves you. Except for those few in the comments that are idiots. Okay. All right. I have the whole thing. I have the attorney getting the warrant, blah, 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 and the end. But I'm not going to play the whole thing. I don't have time today. This judge, guys, I know I'm going to get shit for this. I know it. I always do. This judge is amazing. This judge is so freaking good. And I can never play him. I can't show you any of his clips because the audio in this courtroom is abysmal. It's just abysmal. But he's so good. and it sucks and it hurts my feelings. I tried to bump up the audio. Unfortunately, I didn't have time. Yes, I am. And the inside is so freaking soft. And the outside is so freaking soft. So I feel so good right now. I don't need those cats. I don't need no stinking cats. I'm a lumberjack. Oh man, I'm gonna be stuck watching lumberjack videos today now. It's just the guy is so mesmerizing. I can't stop. All right, focus. I tried to boost up the sound, but I didn't check it. So I'm going in blind. Yes. Yes, we are. Is that you? Is that you with your axe? Hi, Raven. All right, here we go. We're going to Indiana to a great judge, guys. I know you don't like the audio, but he's so good. Oh, so it's only blurred for a tiny bit. You see this right-hand part of the screen? I'm using my son's computer to record, okay? And I'm recording Indiana, but I didn't think anything was going to happen, so I peek quickly at my Connecticut feed. So there's this case in Connecticut, which I already told you about, where the guy sued the jail. He's suing the jail. So I keep checking that. And I didn't want everybody to see my son's history. What the heck? I can't give Darkest Night a wrench? Why not? Oh, there we go. You are now a moderator, Darkest Night, because when I was having all those computer issues that night, you and Kelly saved it. You and Kelly held that boat up. Welcome. Welcome to moderation. It's not as fun as you think it is. Darkest Night, we missed you. We missed you. Okay. So I will tell you, the first one is when Pain killed Jariah. And if anybody knows what I'm talking about, that hit me hard when I saw that. Anyway, here we go.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Rivera, come on up. Have you had any contact with your attorney? Yes. Where is he? State versus Michael Rivera, 2403 F6218. Mr. Rivera appears in court at Liberty, stated by DPA law. The record will reflect this case was set for hearing last week. Mr. Rivera's attorney did not show up, filed a motion to continue late. The court denied that. Contacted Mr. Morrissey. His office advised his assistant that he needed to be in court, or he needed to contact the court. We set this matter for hearing today on a rule to show cause why the attorney who failed to appear, why the court should not hold him in contempt. Mr. McGuire, where is your attorney, sir? In the morning, he said that we will have a quick meeting this morning. He said you contact me when you have but you talked to that he has some meetings in the morning. So I guess maybe you will be.
Unfortunately, he has an accent in a room that is nothing but an echo. So I don't know what he's saying, but I can translate for you. Sir, where is your attorney? The answer is, I don't know. And one of my cats are crying, so I'll be right back.
Okay. Now, all right. Ms. Rawl, have you had any contact with this person?
I am not, Your Honor, since last hearing.
Does your attorney understand that he needs to be here right now?
Maybe try them with a different from many.
It's coming. I know it. There's no sound. Breathe through it, guys. You got this.
I went down and
Thank you for calling the National Law Office, a national immigration law firm. Please stay on the line to speak with a client advisor.
Receptionist is great, by the way.
Good morning, Mostly Law Firm. This is Frenchie. Are you a new or existing client?
hi, Frenchie, I'm a judge in St. Joseph County. I called someone, maybe you, last week. Mr. Molosi failed to appear in court last week for a hearing. I issued an order last week, basically ordering him to be in court today to explain why he failed to appear for a hearing. He's not here. Do you have contact with your boss?
This is on-site reception. Judge, I can take information and I can certainly try to pass you through or request a call back on your behalf and make them aware of why you're calling.
Well, I would certainly appreciate that.
Sure. And what was your last name?
Francisco.
Okay. Thank you. And what would be the best telephone number to reach you?
Well, I'm in court right now. We're having. So I suppose what you can tell Mr. Molosi is that he's violated a court order. He's not here. So I'm finding him in contempt. And I'm going to issue a bench warrant for his arrest. So if he wants to address that, then he's gonna have to get in his car and drive to South Bend, Indiana. I would suggest now, so that he doesn't get arrested.
All right, and did you want me to place you on hold so I can try to connect you directly?
Like,
It's totally at your discretion, sir.
well, if you think you can get in touch with him, I'll certainly wait.
Okay, just a moment.
Yo, this is my jam.
How long you trust you have to place a call on hold. Please drive to me right away. So we will be concerned.
Because they feel good. This is a task that is now on my bucket list. Put a judge on hold to wait for me.
Thank you for holding, Judge. Unfortunately, I was not able to reach him, so I did send over a message with what you advised. that he has violated a court order, and he is a contempt, and you're going to issue a bench warrant for his arrest.
I appreciate that, Frenchie. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. You have a good day.
Same to you. Take care.
Okay, at the bottom of my screen, Patreon. If you go to Patreon and go to Court Vibes, it's free. I'm gonna put this whole thing there. It's like 9 minutes, I think, total, with both videos. There's two. Okay, I'll put the two videos together and then I'll upload one video. That way no one gets confused, even though people are going to get confused. And you can see what happens. The attorney does show up. I'll tell you that. The attorney does show up. But this judge is so good. Now, it's time, guys. Just sit back and relax and get comfortable because everything's about to go sideways and upside down. And Judge Frost is about to get as angry as I've ever seen him. Caddy, what happened was this poor man right here had a hearing last week. The attorney never showed up. So it was continued to this week. This poor man shows up again. The attorney never shows up. So the judge issued an arrest warrant for him. And they just tried to call him while in court. And that receptionist was awesome. Now we're going to Wisconsin. And two people want full custody of their child. They each want full custody. And it's, get some rum. So just so you know, editing it would have taken like an hour when all I really have to do is fast forward it a little bit. So that's why I didn't edit it. I really honestly didn't have time. It's at 15 minutes.
Instead of using Zoom.
So they're having a problem with the attorney, the father's attorney, logging in. So I'm just going to fast forward it to 15 minutes.
Thank you. And then I have the respondent, Christian Light, appearing by Zoom video. I've confirmed he can see and hear me. I also confirmed Attorney Westmont and her client could.
Okay, so that's the top left is the judge, Judge Frost. We love Judge Frost. Love, 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 love. To the right is the attorney for the mother. The mother is sitting directly beside her. You can't see her right now, but she's in there. The hair in the bottom, that's the father. Hi, honey. And that's not the child, that's the dad. And the guy on the phone is the father's attorney. I don't know if the guardian ad litem shows up. I don't remember seeing the guardian ad litem at all. So we'll find out.
See and hear me. I can see and hear both of them as well. And then I have our guardian ad litem on the phone today, Attorney Emily Wilson, on behalf of the best interests of the children. And I've confirmed she can hear me. I could hear.
Then I might be wrong. Either the attorney for the father and the attorney guardian ad litem is on the phone, or just the attorney on the phone is just the GAL, and the father has no attorney here. I could be wrong. We're gonna find out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You'll see.
Her as well. We're here for an oral ruling. We had our 2 days of trial last week, which were a continuation from multiple days earlier in the year for a temporary order that we included as part of our trial. I'm ready to give my ruling right now, so I'm just going to talk with all my findings in my ruling for the next while, and then I'll take any questions that anyone has, and we'll see if there's any other issues I've forgotten or we need to address. And I'll just explain for counsel. I don't need either of you to take detailed enough notes to write a decision. I'm going to turn my notes into a written decision. So you're welcome to take whatever notes you want, but don't worry about having to write the decision for me today.
Thank you.
Of course. So to begin, I'm going to adopt all of the findings that I made, the factual findings at the temporary order hearing. Nothing at trial ended up significantly changing my mind on any of the findings that I made. I'm going to make additional findings based on the evidence at trial, but I'm also keeping and incorporating my prior findings from that earlier hearing. I will find that everyone across the board who's involved agreed that Anjay is doing much better as of our trial dates that we just had than she was doing when we were getting together for the temporary order. There were differing reasons about why that's the case, but everyone agreed Anjay is doing much, much, much better. Mr. Light was the only person that attributed the change to Anjay having a break from Asher and from having more one-on-one time with the parents. He also somewhat attributed it to a change, an increase in her medication. Everyone else thought that the change had to do with the temporary order and the shift to mostly being placed at Miss Meyer Keeper's house and under the schedule that I had adjusted, where most of the time was with Miss Meyer Keeper. And then everything connected to being more in Miss Meyer Keeper's house, everyone else seemed to be on the same page that that's what improved things for Anjay. I agree with everyone else. I think that the evidence showed that that change, the change to primary placement with Miss Meyer Keeper, is what improved things for Anjay. I had
Hi,
explained when I
Sarah.
issued the temporary order that it did give us a unique chance to see if it would improve things, if Mr. Light and his household were a major contributing factor to Anjay's mental health struggles she had been having in the months ahead of that and her hospitalizations. And it turns out that those were, it seems, the biggest contributing factors to the mental health struggles. Being at Mr. Light's house less has tremendously helped Anjay. So I am making my temporary order for Anjay a final order. This placement is clearly in Anjay's best interest. Everything across the board was better. Anjay did better in school. Anjay had no major mental health emergencies since the temporary order. And everyone that touched on Anjay's life had all in agreement said that she'd approved across the board, from mental health to school to everything. Miss Tao, I thought, had given some really good commentary on the changes that she observed in Anjay. She described Anjay as more upbeat, that Anjay was more engaging and responsive since the temporary order versus when they had met prior to the temporary order, and the answers were not really responsive, not really engaging. All of this just shows improvement and that this is in the best interest of Anjay. Now, I'm not discrediting some of the points that Mr. Light made. I do believe having some break from Asher and additional one-on-one time with Mr. Light and ideally with Ms. Meyer Keeper also contributed to the improvements for Anjay, but I'm going to find that they were not the major driving force. I do also believe that the medication and adjustment probably did help with some of the improvement for Anjay, but there was no evidence to suggest or on which I could find that the change in medicine was, again, the driving force or the only reason for the vast and across the board improvement that Anjay has experienced since the temporary order. So for those reasons, we need to stick with the change that I made in the temporary order. It's clearly best for Anjay. That said, I am incorporating Mr. Light's suggestion for some, we'll call it, he used the term transition period. It's some planned time where it's still a one-on-one, where the Asher and Anjay are separate from each other for a limited amount of time. And that gives parental one-on-one for Mr. Light with the children. Ms. Tao also confirmed that she believed this was best and that Anjay had reported this is something that Anjay was enjoying and benefiting from. I'm going to turn now and talk a little bit about Asher. The temporary order, this window of a couple of months under the temporary order, let us see how it affected Asher. And on that end of the spectrum, it was just a complete failure. He did not only do not well, he did bad. He did horrible. It interrupted and interfered with his behavior, with how he's doing at school. It led to all sorts of negative consequences and factors in his life. So I have to find that this is not in the best interest of Asher to continue the temporary order. That said, I still don't believe, and I'm not finding that Asher is experiencing difficulties because of anything at Mr. Light's house or because of how Mr. Light is acting. Instead, again, everyone seemed to agree and all the evidence seemed to support. For Asher, what went wrong was separating him from Anjay for such significant periods of time just created tremendous problems for him at home and at school. It led to serious behavioral issues at school that Asher never had before. The principal and both parents confirmed his behavioral issues are brand new, that they are unlike anything that had happened prior to the temporary order change. And everyone reported that Asher is consistently and uniformly saying he does not like the separation from Anjay. Anjay said the same thing. She didn't like how much separation there was either. It's very clear that separation is what caused the problems for Asher. So as I look at the statutory factors, I considered all of them as to both of the children. I thought Ms. Tao gave a very helpful opinion on the different factors. And for Asher, it really comes down to those factors that look at what are his wishes, what's his inner relationship with Anjay, and how do all of these things affect his mental well-being and health. And those factors trump everything else,
Brother and
as it turns
sister,
out,
yes.
because when I take away his relationship with Anjay, when we separate them too much, it causes him to have behavioral issues and significant issues. Being with Anjay turns out to be a huge stabilizing factor for Asher, a very important part of his life and his behavioral and mental health. So I have to put tremendous weight on the fact that apparently they just can't be separated for significant amounts of time without Asher having a very negative reaction to it. So if I take away the stabilization Anjay provides Asher, that's not in his best interest. That hurts him behaviorally, it affects his education, it affects most aspects of his life. So I can't keep doing that. I found Miss Tao to be a very credible and helpful witness. Her opinions were persuasive and they were supported by the evidence she reviewed. She was able to explain why she reached the opinion she made and to point to evidence for most of them. There were some areas where it was a little thin, but overall I found her opinions very useful and I relied on them heavily. Now, I'm going to make some other findings. Some of them will just jump around a little bit. And then I'm going to get to more of the specifics for the placement order. Mr. Light had expressed, and this I'm relying on a lot of what Ms. Tao had talked about, and I'm making findings based on it. Mr. Light had talked at trial, and Ms. Tao reported on his attending therapy for himself. Mr. Light expressed that he did think he got value from attending therapy, and it was helping him work through some traumas and other issues from his life. I'd like to believe that he's being honest and saying it's helpful and that he's benefiting from it. However, Ms. Tao confirmed there was a long period of time during the study or prior to it that Mr. Light was very inconsistent in following through on therapy. He was switching providers often, though it's reasonable to switch somewhat early on to try to find a good fit because a good relationship with a therapist is critical to actually being able to make progress. But it reached a point where it became clear he wasn't just switching because it wasn't a good fit. It was either that nobody will ever be a good fit, or it was because he would reach a point in therapy where it got too deep and touched on things either that he didn't want to change or he didn't like the pushback, and therefore he would change as a way to avoid the therapy. He wasn't really engaging in it to improve. When you switch because you don't like what a therapist is saying or pushing back on, there are times where that's legitimate, but when it happens all the time, that means you're not really actually trying to improve. Mr. Light had made a request that I order family therapy. I had said at trial, and I'm confirming now, for this family, I absolutely will not order that. There's way too much trauma, way too little cooperation between the parents for family therapy to have any benefit. I am 100% certain it would just make things worse. It would be a waste of time and money, And it would probably cause harm to both the kids and the parents. So I'm rejecting the request for family therapy. I am changing the placement schedule for Asher. We're gonna make his essentially the same as Anjay's on a final basis. That's clearly in both of their best interests for different reasons, but it's in both of their best interests. After considering the factors and the burden of proof for a change, I do find there is a substantial change in circumstances since the last final order, which was a stipulated order.
Judge Frost is so good, and no one interrupts him because, you know, he's nailing them both. He's gonna tear them both down before this is over. And I have to keep pausing it, guys. I have to. I'm almost monetized again. I have to.
Change as to Anjay started with the mental health emergencies, the hospitalizations, and everything that was happening along with that, and the difficulties it was causing in school, at home, and just with with Anjay's mental health and safety. Then there was a substantial change in circumstances for Asher, which was caused by Anjay's schedule changing and me not changing Asher's. So Asher, I've already explained why I'm finding that that was a change for him and not in his best interest. But clearly there were changes of circumstances for both parties that require an adjustment to custody and placement. I do find that this new schedule is in the best interest of both of the children. The past 2 months showed how much better it is for Anjay and that we need to make the change for Asher so that he can be with Anjay most of the time. Placement for the children, I'm adjusting the temporary order a little bit. I realized I had it where it was 3 weekends in a row with Mr. Light. I'm going to adjust that slightly to break it up a little bit. So placement will now be with Mr. Light on the first, second, and fourth weekends of each month from Friday after school until Sunday at 6 p.m. He will also have placement with the children each Thursday after school until 7 p.m. Or if it's a non-school day or in the summer, it'll be from 3
Good luck
p.m.
finding
until
this
7
judge.
p.m.
He's
And
hard to
this is going to
find.
be an alternating placement. When we had it under the temporary order, it was just with Anjay, so there was one-on-one time. Now that we have both kids, I still want that one-on-one time, and that was part of the idea of this. So we're going to alternate weeks. 1 week it'll be with just Anjay, the next week with just Asher, then the next week with just Anjay, and it'll keep going back and forth like that to allow that one-on-one time to continue. I thought about doing one-on-one time with each child each week, but there have just been so many problems, and the more interactions that the parties have and the more exchanges we have to do, the more trouble it seems to cause. So I decided it's better to just alternate, do this 1 day each week with one kid instead of having it 2 days every week and one kid each of the two.
Wait till you hear how much these guys cannot get along for even a second, for even their children. Wait till you hear what this judge says that these two have done to each other.
2 days, because that seems to just invite more problems. But I'm also going to add in some time that we'll call that transition period Mr. Light had asked for, in addition to this Thursday placement. So on the second and fourth weekends of each month, Mr. Light is going to keep Asher one extra overnight and drop him off Monday morning at school. So he's going to have Anjay drop off at 6 p.m. on Sunday. Asher will stay until school the next morning and then get dropped off by Mr. Light at school. That's that additional transition period for a little time apart for the two children. And then on the first weekend, he'll have Anjay stay that Sunday overnight and then drop Anjay off at school on Monday. Asher will go back on Sunday at 6. So each weekend, there will be some of that transitional period for the children. We're just going to switch which child it is. If the two of you reach agreements and or the kids want to swap it,
They
and have
won't.
it be 2
They just
weekends
won't.
with Anjay instead of 2 with Asher, I'm fine with that as long as all of you agree and you put it in writing between each other. But this will be the baseline you're going to follow if you don't reach
They
another
cannot agree.
agreement. On the transportation part, I found Miss Meyer Keeper more credible and more believable about the difficulties with pickups and drop-offs, about Mr. Light being habitually late. There were some examples documented in the record where Mr. Light entirely forgot periods of placement or was extremely late because he had forgotten about some changes in placement or holidays or days off of school or things like that. And when those things happened, he did not keep Miss Meyer Keeper reasonably informed. The fact that I had some documented times where that had happened tells me that it's credible to believe it was a problem on a regular basis. Those were just extreme examples. But it tended to prove Miss Meyer Keeper was giving me a more accurate record of what was happening. So because of that, I'm ordering Mr. Light to do all of the transportation. Any pickups directly from Miss Meyer Keeper are going to occur at her parents' house, so her mom and dad's house, which is nearby. She's going to ensure the children are at that house, at grandma and grandpa's house, and ready by the pickup time. Mr. Light's also going to drop the children off there. If Mr. Light is more than 15 minutes late for a pickup without a valid reason, he forfeits the period of placement, even if it's a whole weekend. Valid reasons include documentable traffic delays, sending a message saying I'm stuck in traffic, and someone could look at Google Maps and see, yep, there's a delay between here and there. If there's a flat tire, if there's bad road conditions due to weather, those are all valid delays. Anything else pretty much is not going to be a valid reason. There will be some examples
Mom,
that
it's
I'm
just
not
as
thinking
bad.
of, but I wanted to give a few examples of what I consider valid. If Mr. Light is more than 15 minutes late for drop-off without a valid reason, and that happens more than 3 times in any 3-month period, a consequence will be that he forfeits an entire weekend of placement the following month. So it'll be every quarter you look at that. So essentially, April 1, you look at the prior 3 months, July 1, you look at the prior 3 months, and then October 1 and January 1. And then in the next month, if there were more than 3 times of being more than 15 minutes late for a drop-off, there's a loss of a weekend of placement. There has to be some consequence. We got to get this problem with delays and pickups and drop-offs under control. And this was the best way I could think of to try to put an incentive there to make sure timely drop-offs and pickups.
Oh no, Steve. Trust me when I say they are hurting each other badly. Wait till you hear what mom does.
Are happening. Miss Meyer Keeper needs to document the time of drop-off and file a sworn affidavit with the court under oath, documenting any 4 or more late drop-offs in 1 3-month period. And again, we're doing it in quarters, so we need a cutoff. It's not going to be a rolling 3 months. We need some consistency with dates and what windows of time to look at. If I continually see a year's worth or something like that of, it's always exactly 3 times of being late, and then there's not a 4th, I may consider putting some other penalty in if it's showing that there's tiptoeing a line. The idea here is to never be late, but life happens, and sometimes you are late, and sometimes kids don't move. And frankly, I'll put that if kids are being tremendously problematic and moving, as long as you're updating the other parent and explaining in some detail what's going on with the kids and that they're delaying and it seems reasonable, I may consider that a valid reason for a delay. We've all dealt with kids that don't want to move, but the 15-minute window is supposed
Yo. Stitches get stitches, yo.
to account for things like that. And it's supposed to be if kids are being too uncooperative, you punish them. You take away a phone, you take away something else they want to do for not moving, and then you tell the other parent that you had to do that, and then we've documented it, and it might be a valid reason. I am not making any changes to the holiday schedule. I'm going to adopt it from the most recent order on holidays. And then each parent's holiday placement will be with both children. Each summer, I'm going to make some adjustments. So every summer, I'm awarding Mr. Light 1 full week.
Mom's lawyer.
Plus his ordinary weekend with both children. And that's going to be in June, July, and August. So 1 week each of the 3 months. The idea there is, Mr. Light, you did address that there are many activities you'd like to do with the kids or put the kids in that would be beneficial for them, and that you just didn't get the opportunity to do it because of the placement schedule, because of X, Y, and Z. So this is giving you an opportunity to do that. Whether you take a vacation, a staycation, or a vacation with the kids during these weeks, or whether you put them in some of those camps or other activities that you really want them to do, but that you could never reach agreement with Ms. Meyer Keeper on, I'm giving you that opportunity, and you'll be able to do that. You had expressed a number of thoughts on worthwhile activities, so I think that it's in their best interest that you get opportunity to pursue that or to take a vacation with them, because that's good time for father and children to do together. Though overall, the evidence showed that less time with Mr. Light on a weekly basis is in the best interest of the children, and that's why I'm making the orders I am. There simply was no evidence to support that giving these 3 separated weeks of placement during the summer is in any way going to be bad for the children. In fact, the evidence seemed to show it'll be in the best interest of the kids. There was testimony in prior summers about the rock camp that Anjay did, for example, where Mr. Light has found things and it was good for the children and they enjoyed it. And there is plenty of evidence that they do enjoy their time with Mr. Light. It was apparently the equal placement on a long-term schedule every week. That was the problem. It was never that having a full week with that weekend would in and of itself be problematic. So I do find these weeks of vacation or full week time to be in the best interest of the children. I'm also giving Miss Meyer Keeper 1 full week with the kids consecutive to her weekend in each of those 3 summer months, June, July, and August. That way she gets a full 7 days to do activities, to go on vacation, to do whatever. Mr. Light's Thursday placement time during those weeks will be moved to an additional overnight at his nearest weekend placement. So Miss Meyer Keeper can select if that's an additional night on a Thursday or if that's going to be a Sunday night. And I know my orders had provided some of that transition time. Frankly, when it comes to these vacation weeks, it's the additional Sunday night or Thursday night with both kids. I know that that would overlap somewhat with the order on the transition period. That's fine. We're not going to make additional adjustments for that. That transition period, I think, is even more helpful during the school year, which is the majority of the weekends during the year. I am setting a schedule because both of you need rigid consistency and deadlines to be able to do things and to function as co-parents. Mr. Light has to select his 3 one-week periods for the summer months by no later than February 28th of each year. And then he needs to tell Miss Meyer Keeper on OFW on or before February 28th. That way, Miss Meyer Keeper can also make plans for the summer care for the children when she has most of her placement. And this will give enough forewarning for her to be able to do that. Mr. Light, if you fail to meet that February 28th deadline,
0
then
context.
I'm defaulting that you will get the 2nd full week of June, July, and August, along with your ordinary weekend placement. And then Miss Meyer Keeper will just know that that's the week you're getting. If it doesn't match up with activities you wanted to do, then it's tough luck because you missed the deadline. Miss Meyer Keeper, you will then select your 3 one-week periods by March 15th and inform Mr. Light. You cannot pick any of the weeks that he chose. I'm giving him that first choice every year because you're getting much more placement overall. So I do think it's fair to let him pick those few weeks that he gets. I'm also ordering that Ms. Meyer Keeper will continue to facilitate a phone call between the children and Mr. Light during all of the weeks when it's not his vacation week. I'm setting the day for that at Tuesday of each week. The children can speak with Mr. Light for as long as the kids reasonably wish to. I'm not putting any numbers on it, and it's really left to the children. If they get off the phone pretty quick, that's what kids do. If they stay on, that's fantastic, and they stay on. During the full week placements,
You're going to hear why there's all of these rules. You've already heard a tiny bit, but there's more. He has to put these roles, he has to put these roles exactly as they are, because these parents cannot even say one word to each other. I'm not sure if they have protective orders against each other. It wouldn't shock me, but I just can't remember. But they have lawsuits against each other. You'll see. Judge is going to spit the facts out for all of us.
So that's talking about the vacation placements where each of you are going to have the kids for a full week. I'm ordering each of you to make sure the kids call the other parent at least 3 times during that week for some kind of a phone call check-in. The parents should reasonably discuss when the calls will best fit into the schedules each of you have. It's going to be some vacation or camp or things like that, so that needs to be accounted for. That's why I'm ordering you to cooperate and try to pick the days and times, as long as it's 3 times during that 7-day period. But in case you can't agree, if you don't reach an agreement, then I'm saying the calls will be on Saturday at 6 p.m. and then on Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Under custody, it's easy to find, and I noted it on the record quite a few times. The two of you have a long history of not cooperating, of not properly co-parenting, of not properly discussing and making decisions, and of not participating meaningfully in the decision-making process that we need and expect when we have joint custody. Honestly, sole custody would be appropriate due to this horrible inability to cooperate. The problem is, I'm not going to award full custody to either of you because you each contribute to the problem. So if I gave either of you sole custody, it would reward a party who acted inappropriately. I would really just be punishing the person I find acted the most inappropriately. And I don't think that would be appropriate, because then I think sole custody is really just another weapon in the ways that the two of you don't cooperate and co-parent. And I am going to make some findings about how each of you have been problematic in this joint decision making. I do think that sole custody would lead to abuses, and probably having the non-custody parent cut out of much of the life and decision making and what's going on in the decisions of the children altogether. So I am adopting my findings. I made many and explicit findings at the temporary order hearings about Mr. Light's problematic behaviors when it comes to medical decisions for the kids and some school-related decisions. There's a long history of problematic conduct toward the professionals, toward Miss Meyer-Keeper,
The
and he's
mother's
generally
attorney.
not meaningfully and in good faith participating in those discussions. Mr. Light is overly accusatory against all professionals, it seems. I heard more about it at the trial because I heard from Dr. Hillary, I heard from the principal, and it was clear across the board, people in notes, in emails, and then through testimony have confirmed, Mr. Light, that you don't interact appropriately with these professionals. And that has made it very difficult, if not impossible, for you to be involved in co-parenting choices on those issues. You also just fail to meaningfully participate. You'll talk over Miss Meyer-Keeper. You will ignore her. You won't respond. You won't give concrete decisions. It delays things. It makes it a painful process with no actual resolution. And Dr. Hillary was credible when she said that she has been there when Mr. Light, you interrupt and talk over Miss Meyer-Keeper. Then Miss Meyer-Keeper had adequately explained she just shuts down. That's her defense mechanism when this starts happening. That's not healthy. It's not healthy co-parenting. It doesn't allow for joint decisions. And as I said, it was reported by numerous sources, and I find them credible. I'll also make a finding, Mr. Light, you are convinced apparently that all professionals are against you and out to get you, and that they all favor Miss Meyer-Keeper over you. I didn't find that reasonable as to everybody. There was evidence to support this as to Dr. Hillary, that she would, at any request from Miss Meyer-Keeper, she'll write up apparently anything that's asked of her along the lines of what Miss Meyer-Keeper asks her to do. Yet she often disagrees with what you want, Mr. Light, and there's not really great explanation for that. But when we heard from many therapists and other professionals involved in the children's lives, there simply was no good evidence, no credible evidence to support that any of them were against you in any way. Rather, they seemed to only respond negatively to you because of your own conduct, because of your own abuse of the process or mistreatment of them. I also will find, Mr. Light, you would also accuse the principal of lying to me in court to make herself and the school look better. There was no credible evidence to support this. I don't believe the principal was lying. I found the principal to be a credible witness. But it highlighted a pattern of everyone's lying, everyone's out to get you, and it's just not backed up by reality for the most part. I will make some findings where I think you do have valid reasons to say that. And there were numerous examples in the evidence, largely at the temporary order hearing, but it was the evidence I continued into our trial, where different professionals just stopped working with your family because of Mr. Light's conduct. So that describes much of the problem with Mr. Light and joint custody. Ms. Meyer-Keeper, you also acted badly in a number of situations. Ms. Meyer-Keeper overreacts to just about everything Mr. Light does and paints it as something horrible and abusive, when in reality, much of it was no problem at all, or only a minimal problem. I had found in a previous hearing and made orders to do with contempt, if I remember correctly, where Ms. Meyer-Keeper was essentially accusing Mr. Light of stalking and harassing her, shared a video with me, or a photo, I don't recall if it was a photo or a video, and it really just showed Mr. Light doing normal things. He was walking in a public roadway. There was no sidewalk. He was standing an appropriate distance.
It's a good place to pause. RW, no. I don't cover the judges that other people cover. Like, you won't see Judge Frost on any other channel. I only cover judges that people can't find.
Well, one of the children dropped something off at the house. He was doing exactly what we would expect. And to you, Miss Meyer-Keeper, it unreasonably came across as stalking or harassing. It was a baseless fear. It was expressed at trial that Mr. Light's going to use the kids' phones to track you. I pressed back on it, and there was absolutely no example of that ever happening. There were some times where young children shared where they were going to be with you, and then Mr. Light would also be there, but none of it showed a intent to track you, to follow you, to harass you in any way. I do believe that you actually truly and deeply hold this fear that he's going to abuse these things, but I'm finding that it's completely unfounded. It reflects an overreaction to Mr. Light's conduct. There are probably a number of small cuts that have led to that deep scar. I'm saying it may be very legitimate feeling that you experience, but it's not based on a reality that he's actually going to do the things that you think and say he's going to do. It seems to be more of a aggregation of all the little fights and all the little problems, resulting in some irrational fears and concerns at this point. But there were also other examples where Miss Meyer-Keeper just made mountains out of molehills. One of them would be the fluoxetine issue of Anjay believing that she was not getting the appropriate dose, and that immediately turned into Miss Meyer-Keeper thinking, Mr. Light's sabotaging the process. He's over or underdosing our child. He wants to make this go poorly and at the expense of Anjay's health. And that was all ridiculous. Mr. Light very reasonably explained that when you switch from a 30 milligram dose, which comes in 10 and 20 milligram pills, because there is no 30 milligram pill, to a 40 milligram dose where there are 40 pills, but now we have some leftover 10s and 20s, it's reasonable to use up the 10s and 20s. You can combine them and get to 40 milligrams. And he explained it. It made perfect sense. I agree with not being wasteful and throwing away medicine. And what a reasonable thing to do. But as soon as
Hold on, guys. Wait till you hear what she did. She got mad at him. The child's medicine was switched. The dad was using up the old medicine. Okay, mom goes off the deep end.
Anjay reported it, instead of cooperating, being reasonable, getting that explanation, and then everyone telling Anjay together, it's no big deal. We're just using up the old pills for a week or two, and then you'll just have your 40. it turned into this whole conspiracy theory of clearly Anjay's reporting it. He must be overdosing her or underdosing her. He's trying to sabotage. None of that was appropriate. None of it made sense. It was a drastic overreaction.
0.
And
Hi, Terry.
frankly, the proof is in the pudding. Anjay, as I have found, has been doing fantastic since the temporary order. She's been doing fantastic since the change in medication. All of that says she's getting the right amount of medicine. Yet you ignored that to try to accuse Mr. Light of doing something wrong and try to use that to take away his ability to give meds to Anjay, even though it seems to me he's doing it exactly appropriately. I'll also say it was unreasonable and inappropriate how Miss Meyer Keeper came up with and got the doctor to go along with this plan that Miss Meyer Keeper should do the fluoxetine on Sunday night. And everyone tried to say, and it was simply untrue, that it's fine. Let's just do it that way. That's medically appropriate. The doctor said, and then everyone tried to ignore that the doctor said, the way you should use this medicine is the same time every day. You're not going to hurt a patient by changing it occasionally, but you should try to do it the same time every day. That was undisputed. That's what the doctor said. And everyone tried to say, oh, it'll be fine. The doctor said it'll be fine. No, the doctor said it wouldn't hurt Anjay. The doctor didn't say we should do it one way 6 days a week and a different way on Sunday. But you just ignored that to get to what result you wanted, which is more control over the meds for these reasons that aren't supported by the evidence. And it was contrary to the best use of this prescription. It was kind of a silly little point that just made more problems and made Mr. Light more upset for no good reason. And then there was the example with the neighbor, and when one of the neighbor kids was upsetting to Anjay, and Anjay reported that to Mr. Light, to her stepdad, and when I heard Miss Meyer Keeper's testimony, it sounded horrible. Miss Meyer Keeper painted it as Mr. Light going to the neighbor's house and saying, essentially demanding and drawing a line in the sand, your kids will not go to Miss Meyer Keeper's house and will not interact with my kids there. In reality, and if the truth had been told from the beginning and it came out later through Mr. Light's testimony and then through further testimony of Miss Meyer Keeper has no idea what Mr. Light said to the neighbor. Miss Meyer Keeper has no idea how Mr. Light spoke to the neighbor. Miss Meyer Keeper interpreted what she wanted to from comments the kids made when they came over and made some comment about not being able to come play because of what Mr. Light said. There's so many levels of hearsay and skewed versions of facts because it came from what the kids interpreted and took from a parent telling them something from what Mr. Light had talked to that parent about.
Rebecca, there's more.
Now, kids can be good reporters of some things, but I don't believe that they would be very accurate reporters, nor would they probably have had any idea how Mr. Light spoke to that parent. So I don't put any weight really on what the kids reported, yet Miss Meyer Keeper took it as this must be exactly what happened with no follow-up. When I pushed on it, she reasonably explained how she didn't want to bring the neighbor into or seem like she's checking up on what Mr. Light's saying and doing. But the balance of that is it's fine if you don't want to dig into that. You don't want to put your nose in that and put the neighbor in it. But then you can't just say, well, I'm not going to investigate, but I'm just going to assume the worst based on the little bit I heard from the kids. Mr. Light credibly explained why he has this parent's number. He also lets Anjay and Asher do stuff with these other friends during his placements, so he communicates with those parents as well. He spoke with that mom. He passed on Anjay's concerns and talked about it. That's not unreasonable. So what he did there after I heard the full facts and what should have been more honestly explained from the beginning, it was clear this was another overreaction and over dramatization. Now that said, I'll also find Mr. Light consistently fails to take Anjay and Asher's comments or complaints with a grain of salt. He fails to account for the dramatization that children of certain ages, everything is more dramatic when you get to a certain age as a child. And then he takes it without, processing and paring down what really happened and how serious it really should be. and runs with it and often treats things like they're very, very bad, when in fact they're probably just normal kid interactions with other kids. This was not one of those examples. So it seems like he did an appropriate thing. He passed on what Anjay had said. Parents can then talk about it more and deal with it. So I do find, though, that Mr. Light routinely overreacts to complaints from Anjay, complaints from Asher, he calls every little thing a major thing. He calls normal kid interactions bullying or other inappropriate stuff and acts like it needs to be intervened in right away, when in fact, it's just kids need to learn how to deal with each other and their own bounds on most of it. And many people reported that overreaction from Mr. Light. Numerous reliable sources, including from the school, including other people involved. So I do find that he does go too far sometimes, but Miss Meyer-Keeper also needs to recognize it's not every time. Miss Meyer-Keeper also did wrong in that right after a stipulated order was entered saying each parent gets to give the kids meds on their own days, she then, in that same order, that it had a concession, a stipulation that the parents would each follow the recommendations of Dr. Hillary. And the evidence showed within days of entering into that stipulation or resolving issues, Ms. Meyer-Keeper went to Dr. Hillary to undo that part about each parent giving the meds by having Dr. Hillary recommend that the school give them, and then saying, hey, the order says Dr. Hillary's recommendations must be followed. Frankly, I think that was probably contempt. It was incredibly inappropriate.
Taser.
It completely undercuts the
Taser.
stipulated order that was just entered into. It violates the good faith and fair
Put
dealing
her in
that you
jail.
have to have when you enter a contract like that, and you make one promise and then use another one to undercut it in a way that Mr. Light would not and should not have expected. That was inappropriate. That was an abuse of part of the custody decision orders. Both parents acted inappropriately when it came to Anjay's musical instrument. It started with Miss Meyer-Keeper. Mr. Light, you had the right to ask the teacher for her opinion on Anjay wanting to change instruments. You acted reasonably. You did what Miss Meyer-Keeper asked, which is you copied her so that neither of you are talking to professionals, to teachers, to doctors without the other knowing. You did what
I
you should
hope
have.
you
You
said
asked for a reasonable opinion,
when you
and Miss
type that.
Meyer-Keeper just completely unreasonably responded, accusing you of inappropriate conduct, overreacting in an inappropriate way, and copying the teacher on all of it. Had it just stopped there, you would have been 100% in the right, Mr. Light. But then you had to respond too, and you had to copy the teacher, and you had to throw in your fight with Miss Meyer-Keeper with the teacher on the email. It just all shows how uncomfortable both of you make it for professionals, for teachers, for everyone else, which necessarily spills into your children being affected by all of this inappropriate conduct. And then the worst example for Miss Meyer-Keeper, where you act just completely inappropriately, is your repeated insistence on reporting that Mr. Light is accused of sexually abusing Anjay. All the legal channels years ago resolved that in his favor.
Sickening.
Found no inappropriate actionable abuse occurred. All of it ended, all of it was wrapped up years ago. And then you'll sit in court and say, UW just updated it because that's what they wanted to do. Mr. Light then gave me records that showed you insisted on it. You reached out, you insisted UW add it back into the notes years after the fact. Then you lied to the court about it. And the records show that. You insisted in other times that these UW records are great, these MyChart records are great. That's why you like everything in writing, because they all accurately report it. So clearly, the ones about you insisting that this false accusation being thrown back in the medical records must be accurate. And you did that. I'm finding that you did that, and you shouldn't have, and that has undercut Mr. Light's appearance and his interaction with medical professionals at UW, because this false claim is in there. You also then listed it very recently in therapy paperwork after Anjay's hospitalizations. Again, this is even more years after this was all resolved and all went away and Mr. Light was cleared. And then you make excuses why you think it's appropriate to keep doing this. I don't believe you think it's inappropriate. I
So
don't
am
think
I.
that the only
Is
reason
that
you
bad?
stopped is because the guardian ad litem said you need to stop this and you didn't want it to hurt you in this litigation to keep doing it. But I think you would keep doing it otherwise. And you make excuses why you should. So Mr. Light isn't overreacting when he says that you're doing this to poison how providers, how professionals look at him and how they treat him.
Guys, this is Judge Frost really, 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 really angry.
Do I think it always actually poisons how a therapist or others might interact with him? Probably not, but I bet there are times it has, and it's because of you and because you did something inappropriate. So I'm ordering that Ms. Meyer-Keeper is ordered to stop reporting that Anjay alleged abuse by Mr. Light. You need to, and I'm ordering you to assist in correcting existing medical records. First preference is to remove it altogether. If a
I
provider says
watch
they
him a
can't do
lot.
that for some internal reason, then it's to insist on adding some record that makes it very clear that although a report was made of an allegation of abuse, after investigation, all allegations were deemed unsubstantiated and Mr. Light was cleared of any wrongdoing. If it's going to have some of it in there, it needs to have all of it and to be very clear that the conclusion was nothing inappropriate happened. If this ever gets reported again by you, Ms. Meyer-Keeper, I am warning you, and it'll be in writing, that I'll consider that a basis to award impasse or sole custody to Mr. Light, because it's going to show
Yikes.
just an unignorable refusal to let him be a full part of his custody rights and to be a full participant in decision making for the children. This is the last and the most stern warning on that. Now, the only reason I'm not awarding sole custody to Mr. Light based on that terrible course of conduct is, again, because he did so many things that negatively affected Anjay's health during her mental health crisis that I just can't award sole custody because I'd be giving it to the person who upset me the least. And that's not the standard. The standard is to look at what's best for the children, not what's best for either of you or which one of you has upset me more. So because neither of you has clean hands at all, I'm not finding it appropriate to give either of you sole custody. I'm
Guys,
ordering
this
you
is not a
continue with
criminal
joint.
child. This isn't criminal. He won't throw people in jail unless, they commit a crime. This is civil.
Legal custody of both children. In the event that you reach an impasse, I'm going to give, and I'm continuing for Ms. Meyer-Keeper, the impasse breaking authority. For the most part, this really should come down to medical issues and all these different treatment needs for your children. And on that area, it is appropriate in particular to give impasse because I did find Mr. Light not to be as concerned about the best interests of the children as Ms. Meyer-Keeper was.
He did.
But I'm giving the impasse across the board just because of all the many, many problems the two of you have with reaching agreements. Somebody needs to be able to break an impasse. I'm setting strict rules for joint custody decision making. Any topic where you're asking for a custody decision to be made, whoever's bringing it up needs to start a brand new OFW message thread. It has to start with the words in all caps, custodial decision, then a dash, and then whatever the topic of the decision is. And then that topic needs to be clear and explanatory right in the title. Here's an example.
I would.
Selecting electives for Anjay, or determining medical issue blank for Asher. Something like that, where it says exactly what the issue is that you want to discuss. And when you want to discuss the custodial decision like that, either of you has to then complete your opening OFW message. You need to give a complete message. It needs to have all of the details in it regarding the decision to be made. It needs to have your opinion on how you'd like to decide it. And then you have to also provide any reasonable resources
We will
that
hear
you
from both of
used or
them
that you're
soon.
offering, that you found and are offering the other parent to help them evaluate your opinion and your request for them to agree. You also have to include any deadline related to making the decision, such as a sign-up deadline or some other deadline related to being able to do the whatever it might be. The other party then needs to respond within 72 hours. They need to provide in their response a fully thought out response. It has to be a clear statement of their opinion on the decision, whether it's agreement or disagreement, and why if it's disagreement. The response shall also include any follow-up questions that would resolve any concerns, and it needs to provide any specific objections to the proposal. If the responding parent relied on any resources or found any resources that are helpful, you also have to pass those on in that message. After that response, the proposing party can then reply, and they must do so within 48 hours. This is a chance to try to address some of those concerns if they came up, to offer a final alternative, or to say, I guess, if you're just dropping the issue, or if you agree with any changes that the responding parent had proposed. And then the final response will come within 24 hours of that, where the responding parent needs to either indicate you agree or you disagree and why, and that's the end of it. There's no other discussion after that. If at that point you haven't been able to reach a reasonable agreement, then Ms. Meyer-Keeper can exercise impasse authority. If this chain of discussion shows me that it's not reasonable that she's doing so, that could then be brought to my attention as an abuse of the
it will be
authority that I'm awarding. But we need this finality, so no more than 2 messages from per each of you on
2.
any one issue, and then you get to impasse.
That's it.
I put hard deadlines in. A failure to respond within the deadline will be treated as consent to the decision, and then the other parent can move forward with it. I did adopt I'm adopting all of my findings from the temporary order. I'm adopting many of the orders as well. Right now, the children will remain in school in the Belleville School District. I'm continuing that Ms. Meyer-Keeper will schedule all appointments for the children, all to occur during her placement time. That essentially is how it has to be at this point, especially during the school year, because she has all weekday placement, and most medical and mental health care and dental care is going to be during that time anyway. Ms. Meyer-Keeper is still ordered to immediately put all those appointments for the children that she schedules on the shared Our Family Wizard calendar. I'm also ordering that she cannot schedule appointments school year if it would happen to be in the evening placement time that he has. Mr. Light is authorized to attend any and all of these appointments for the children, the exception being the therapy, counseling, mental health type appointments, which I'll talk about more. And because of the placement schedule I'm awarding, I have given a substantial amount of the summer is going to be each of your different week-long vacations. But overall, Ms. Meyer-Keeper has the vast majority of the weekday work time placement for the children. So as a default, she will be selecting the majority of the summer plans for what the children do. If it's going to the school, summer school things, or camps or stuff like that, she'll be picking that for all of her placement time. She doesn't need Mr. Light to consent or agree on that. It won't interfere with this placement. I am ordering that during that nighttime placement on Thursday nights, you can't interfere with that through any of these plans, but all the daytime care wouldn't interfere with that anyway. On the week-long placement, Mr. Light does get sole choice for what he's doing for the kids those weeks, whether it's a camp, whether he's spending the time with them. They will miss any activity that Ms. Meyer-Keeper had scheduled. I get that when you sign them up for summer school, the idea is they're there each week. I'm saying for his weeks of vacation, he does not have to abide by that. He gets to pick whatever he wants. If he chooses to take them to that, that's his choice and he could do that. But otherwise, he can do what he wants. And then I've already explained, you can't pick any activities that overlap his evening placement. Again, all communications to teachers, medical, dental, mental health professionals, anyone like that have any substance have to be in writing. You can say hello, you can say small talk stuff when you drop off and pick up kids. Anything about what's going on either needs to be at an appointment where both of you are there or in writing. The kids will continue to see their
when I kicked him out in August, I kicked him out August 12th. I had to pay him to take the kids. I had to give him money to see the kids, or I would buy him things, or I would fill up his gas so that he could go and see the kids. Sometimes he would pick which kids he wanted to see, because like the middle one gave him attitude. So, you know, I just want the oldest one and the youngest one. And so finally I stopped paying. Sometimes I would pay him to see the kids and then he just wouldn't show up, which was the worst. That really got me. I never had to deal with any of this. Like, as soon as I stopped paying him to see the kids, I never saw him again. He was just gone. I never had to deal with this garbage. But I mean, I would have won in the court. He didn't even know the names of one of their teachers in their entire lives.
Counselors, as the counselors recommend. The parents can and will only participate in those therapy or counseling sessions as requested by the counselor. The communication can be verbal if the counselor asks you to be in a session. Otherwise, it has to be in writing. No other communications with those counselors. And that would be the one time if a counselor asks one parent to participate in a session and not the other, then you're permitted, of course, to talk to that counselor in the absence of the other parent, because that's part of the therapy being provided. But that's all dictated by the counselor. And the counselor needs to be informed of that order that neither parent should be talking to them otherwise, unless it's in writing and copying the other parent. The school is going to keep giving meds on school days. And frankly, at this point, the only reason I'm ordering it is because your kids are used to it. It's been working reasonably well, and it's a consistency thing. So it should keep happening because the kids are used to it. Ms. Meyer-Keeper shall let Mr. Light provide the fluoxetine for Anjay on all of his placement days. That includes every weekend day that they're placed with him, vacation and holidays that they're placed with him, and shall ensure he has enough medicine to do so. Mr. Light is ordered to save and return all medicine bottles each month to Ms. Meyer-Keeper by the last day of each month. If you fail to do so, Mr. Light, I'm assessing a $100 monetary sanction for each bottle each month that you fail to return.
This, what he just said here, is going to cause a problem. You'll see. He has to deal with medicines.
I simply don't know how else to compel you to give these back. Again, this is something that should be so simple, and it turned out to be a problem that ended up being a problem for you, Mr. Light, somewhat for
It
Miss
still is.
Meyer-Keeper. So I'm saying she should provide some of these in bottles, but you're ordered to return the bottles. She doesn't need to keep finding or asking for or paying for new additional bottles when you could reuse them. I am ordering Miss Meyer-Keeper will secure phones for the kids to have at her house. She can set reasonable rules regarding the hours of use, screen time, punishments. Sometimes they're going to get grounded from their phones, things like that. But otherwise, Mr. Light needs to be provided the number for these new phones for the kids, and the kids have to be permitted to reasonably communicate with Mr. Light on these phones while they're in placement at
This is about to cause a problem.
Miss Meyer-Keeper's house. Mr. Light, you can continue providing phones during your placement, and the same rules will apply. About you can set reasonable rules on hours of use, screen time, punishment if they're grounded, but otherwise the numbers have to be provided to Miss Meyer-Keeper, and the kids need to be allowed to reasonably communicate with her. I'm ordering the phones will not go back and forth. That's why I'm ordering the second set of phones to be secured. And it sucks. It sucks for your kids. You brought a fair point up, Mr. Light. Why do kids need to have two different numbers to communicate with people? Frankly, I don't know that any kids really communicate by text anymore, so that might not matter because they just log into their apps and talk to their friends. But it seems silly. It seems ridiculous. It's a waste of money. But the two of you just can't get along, so we have to do it that way. I am ordering, though, that if Mr. Light wishes to, he can cancel his phone plans, and that Miss Meyer-Keeper shall then pay for all on her own phones for both kids and allow those phones to go to Mr. Light's house.
No.
And if they're lost or damaged at his house, he has to pay to replace them. only Miss Meyer Keeper is authorized to add apps to those phones, which means she would be in strict control. There'd be no way to track them because only you can add the apps, and you'll put in a password that only you know to add apps, and that way he can't add apps without your permission to the phones. Frankly, I don't think your tracking concern is based in any reality or evidence, but like I said, it's a real concern, and I'm trying to make things better for your kids, which means trying to help minimize the problems the two of you have. And because you have such a strongly held belief, though baseless, about this tracking issue, that's why I'm making this order, because I think it fairly balances that Mr. Light wants to have a way to communicate with the kids. He lets you communicate with them this way. You don't want his phones coming into your house, so then the burden should be on you to pay for phones, and they get to go to his house. You just get to control that. That way he can't install stuff on them. So it resolves your concerns, but keeps the lines of communication with the kids
Karma.
open for both of you. And
She will be on
with
camera.
that, those are all of my findings. Attorney Wilson, is there anything you think I missed?
Missed? No.
I'm just going back to my notes. I suppose I have a couple points of clarification.
How?
But I think I just wanted to clarify for the placement schedule. I think Your Honor had said
He left.
from Friday after school until Sunday at 6 p.m. And I think there was some clarification that for the Thursday placement periods, if there's no school, that the Thursday dinner period begins at 3.
Guardian ad
Is
litem.
it the court's intention that the Friday exchange on non-school days would also be 3 p.m.?
I think that makes sense, unless you think a different time does.
I mean, I think that's fine and it's consistent. So that's fine from my perspective. And then I think then there would need to be an exchange time. I think the court had described the transition period. So on the second and fourth weekends, Dad drops Asher off at school, and Ante goes back to Mom's house on Sunday evening. Drop off at school. Obviously, if it's during the summer, we would need an exchange time, ostensibly in the morning, if it's a non-school day.
If there was an activity, it would have to be, what time do activities start?
During the summer.
Mm-hmm.
8 a.m.
School starts at 8 a.m. during the summer. So.
So we'll
And there are
say,
days during.
we're gonna say it's
Sorry.
either at their summer activity, whatever time it's scheduled
That
for,
makes
that
sense.
Miss Meyer Keeper is scheduled, or if there's no activity, which that might be true later in the summer, that it be, shall we say 8 a.m. at Grandma and Grandpa's house?
That works. And then you didn't set how the weeks this summer is going to be set.
Yeah, I needed to hear a little bit more from the parties about what they've already locked into. So that one's a little trickier, and I think we should talk about that. Attorney Wilson, did you have anything else?
I wanted to clarify, because I think the way that the court described those weeks in the summer was that Dad has a full week, and I think the language was plus his weekend. Just want to clarify that the court's intention is to say that the regular placement weekend would be part of those weeks. Is that right?
Correct. So a 7-day
Okay.
period, which is that weekend that they already have, plus the week, the work week.
And then, and maybe I missed, it's possible I missed some details connected to the decision related to activities during Mr. Light's summer weeks. Just something around the language needed or the time frame needed to advise Ms. Meyerkeeper as to the activities that Mr. Light intends to facilitate for the children or enroll the children in during those summer weeks, because I believe there's language in a prior order that makes involvement in activities a custodial decision. So that would need to be modified explicitly.
I heard the judge say that activities during their vacation week is their decision.
Exactly, and if it's helpful, what I'll put down is
Dad played with his hair. He's guilty.
essentially each gets sole custody rights as to those weeks. I mean, I think that just is how it is normally, because you get to pick where the kids are when it's your placement time. But if you want it to be more explicit, I'm okay making it more explicit.
Sole decision as to activities, but not health and everything else.
No, exactly. It's just what they're doing and where they are during that week. That's your placement.
Okay.
I think all I'm gonna put in there, to be very clear, is each has to inform the other parent about any open, I don't know how to word it, performance type things. So things that family or friends are invited to, we don't know what they're gonna be at. And so if it's rock camp, for example, and there's like a concert and people are supposed to come and watch the kids, it's that. It's not that either parent's invited to just come hang out, and parents aren't really meant to be doing that. So I'll put some language in about that they have to keep the other informed about those kind of open to the parents' activities for any of these events during the summer.
Yeah, the weeks you want.
Anything else, Attorney Wilson?
And I'm sorry, just going through all of my notes, making sure I didn't miss something about, I know that the court had discussed the concerns raised about the fluoxetine dosage being administered late in the day on Sunday. Wondering whether the court is providing any guidance to the parties as to how medication should be provided to Mr. Light.
Here we go.
I've already done it. He has.
On non-school days. So obviously the ADHD medication is administered by the school during the school year. And it's if I missed something, I apologize. I just want to make sure I have that right.
Miss Meyerkeeper, how have you been providing that during the summer when you can't do it at school?
We don't, they only are on it during school days.
No, I know, but the fluoxetine or the like probiotics that you had been giving them before?
Oh, I provide them at the school, in the baggies, and he has gotten them through his weekend for Saturday and Sunday through this month already, up until today, which I will then go to the school again, and then he'll get his whole summer's worth. I just give the entire summer's worth if I can. I don't know if there's a suggestion, I guess for the fluoxetine, you're right, it is a 30-day supply. But they do go to summer school through July, so I would be able to give it almost all the way into the beginning of school.
Okay, I'm just gonna set a rule that during the summer he can get it during a pickup at Grandma and Grandpa's on the first time.
No, Judge.
Each month.
That's not gonna work.
Whether that's a weekend or a Thursday night. We'll shoot for the first of the month to always renew it during the summer, and then it'll be at school during the school year.
I may not be able to accommodate that because it's on a refill.
She's checking whether she can do it based on when the refills are given.
It's a 30-day.
That's not the problem.
Since it's a 30-day, it depends on when the 30-day runs.
I run it, it's mid-month, so
It would be mid-month, but she can email Christian when she's going to send it.
And then how do we have confirmation that he got it? Because in the past he said he didn't get it, and so I want to make sure, that's why I was giving it at the school.
So what she's saying is there's confirmation that he received it. So she'll email Christian when she picks up the prescription. She'll divvy it up. She'll have it at the exchange at her mother's house, and then Christian should turn around and put in our family wizard that he acknowledged receipt.
Except.
And he acknowledged receipt of the appropriate amount.
Except.
And we just want to make it clear that when the exchange occurs at Grandma's house, he's not to enter the house. He's supposed to stay in the car. And in the front of the house.
Are
Can
we
we go
sending
back
the
to medication
meds?
just for 1 second? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Are we sending the meds with the children? Because how else would he get the meds if he doesn't go to the door?
That's what she's
Well,
done in the past. I mean, they're in their backpacks.
That's why I've been providing it. So
At
that
the
an
school.
adult can pick it up.
You can.
Grandma.
Well, she will have it at grandma will come out on those days and hand deliver it so the kids don't need to touch it.
Okay,
So
so he can meet grandma on the
She'll-
sidewalk or driveway, whatever it's like, in front of her house. The one day that he's told per month to get the medicine exchange. Otherwise, he'll
Yeah.
wait in or next to his car.
I don't think I can do the first of the month because it's like the.
okay, we worked it out.
Yep, I'm not setting a specific day. I'm saying you're gonna do it once a month. You're gonna tell him which day, at least a week ahead of time, and it should be consistent going forward then. So it should always be around that same 30 days. Doesn't get you the exact same day,
Right.
but it'll be pretty similar then.
Sure.
It is pretty, yeah.
And is the court explicitly saying that Mr. Light will be responsible for administering the morning dose of fluoxetine on his Sundays then?
Yes.
Exactly. Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Let her talk. I want to hear her.
Any other questions or other items, Attorney Wilson?
I'll keep reading through. I think one thing that I'd ask is that the court's
I
order
don't know.
regarding payment of my fees continue as part of this order. As both parties after trial have pretty substantial bills owing.
Definitely.
Otherwise, I'm going to keep reading through, and if I have anything else, I'll add. I know that Attorney Westmont had filed a lengthy document with proposed language. I think some of that language is new and was not in prior orders. And there were also some notes in that document that were not necessarily proposed orders. So I'm not sure. I'm assuming the court's just going to use its discretion to go through that and sort of pick and choose the language that applies.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
I try to make clear what was new or what were our notes.
Okay. Attorney Westmont, is there anything you think I forgot to address or any follow-up questions you have?
Yeah, I don't know how to tactfully put this, but I firmly believe that Heather has been harassed through this process. And I think she is overreacts because she's so defensive, but Mr. Light continues to file documents asking for her to be jailed, to just all kinds of things. And it is extremely harassing. And I think some of what you see in her reaction to him is due to the fact that he is constantly kicking at her. I mean, he testified he wants her in jail and he's going to go to a DA and try to get her jailed. And I didn't hear anything today about his inappropriate findings that are extremely hurtful. So I'll leave it at that.
I already issued an order when he first filed a bunch of stuff explaining that most of it was baseless and not appropriate. So I denied most of those. If it would continue, I'm never gonna, I won't say never. When parties file for contempt, one of the things they can ask for is a purge condition of a jail sentence. Mr. Light, you have misunderstood that. I can never just put somebody in jail as a punishment. I can only use jail to get people to purge their contempt. You had filed a number of things asking me not to make it purgeable, but to be a punishment. That isn't one of the choices with contempt. it is a choice if a DA pursues a contempt charge in a criminal capacity, not for me. So I'm explaining that, and I explained some of that in writing, but not all of it. So I'm telling you, don't put that in future things because I couldn't do it anyway. But there was a flurry of it after the temporary order hearing. I knocked most of it out right away. That was baseless. And if I would keep seeing a pattern of that, I would consider further orders to prohibit additional filings or to require court approval before we get some of them. I'm not going to make any other findings on it. I think I had mentioned there are 1,000 little cuts that have been made, and some of them were inappropriate, and some of that explains why she's acting how she is. And it isn't reasonable in the sense that I'm not going to believe her and find the way she wants me to about he's doing this, this, and this. I'm saying I get why she's saying that. I'm saying the evidence doesn't support her reaction to it, but I understand that there's a long history. I don't need to make any additional findings on it as far as I'm concerned.
She is very, very, very concerned about Mr. Light coming to her house. And she, which he continues to do. There was a prior order that he wasn't to come to her house. And quite frankly, she doesn't feel safe. There's no reason for him to come to her house. The pickups and drop off are at grandma's house. And she is very concerned that he is now going to feel empowered to come to her house, and she doesn't feel safe.
I gave her what she asked. I ordered that exchanges happen somewhere else, so I don't know why she would think he's coming to her house.
Because he says, even he's stated recently he was going to come to her house.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
On the 31st, he came to my house and told me that it was fine.
On the 31st, he came to her house and told her that now it was fine, that you said it was fine that he could come to her house. And she is just very concerned about it. I mean, she was sitting here sobbing, Your Honor. She is distraught over the fact that he could just show up at her house.
Distraught.
The 31st of June, of May, excuse me, of May, he came to the house. I'm not sure why.
I don't know.
If I may.
Again, I haven't heard enough evidence to suggest why she reasonably has such a strong reaction to him showing up at her house. But I've ordered things that I didn't refer to because she holds that concern. So to help her get past it, and so it doesn't influence the kids by upsetting her, I've ordered the drop-offs to be at grandma and grandpa's because that seemed like a reasonable alternative. And otherwise it's at school or activities. So I will put in there, Mr. Light, I don't know of any reason why you would need to be at her house. So I'm ordering you to honor that she's saying, essentially she's telling you, just like anyone else, it would be trespassing to come to someone's property who tells you stay off my property. So if it helps to have it in my order that she has indicated you're not welcome at her property, and I'm not issuing any orders that would require you to be at her property.
Hi, legal.
So treat it as her warning you it'll be trespassing.
Your Honor, if I may, there's always a plausible explanation. This whole
Legal, if you rewatch this one from the beginning, try to watch it at like half speed because they talk really fast. It goes really, really, really fast.
fear of me stalking them, her mom or her husband, or like whatever, is baseless and unfounded. There's zero substantiation for any of it, but it's persisted for years because it's a story she likes to tell. I have never set foot on her property after any stipulated order. The public roadways are public. I have not stepped foot on her property. She has, she has created a situation that's almost impossible for me to operate within the confines of. For example, she won't allow Angie and Asher to have their cell phones, and so I can't directly communicate with them. because it's hard for our children to keep track of all the days, like whose day is whose and where are we going, Anji gets on the bus sometimes. She goes to her mom's house. I pull up in the pickup line. They call for Anji. She's not there. The teachers are like, okay, where's Anji? So then they're calling the bus. The bus is like, oh, she's here. So then I go down to the bus stop that's like a block from Heather's house. Because I'm late sometimes, Anji is already by her mom's house with CJ and Alicia and Alana, other kids that they get off on the bus with. And so I just drive down on Everett Street, pick up Anji, because Heather says they can't have phones to directly
I
communicate.
agree.
Hey, Anji, where are you? Let's meet here. And then now she's saying I'm stalking her and keep going to her house when I'm just trying to pick up our children on my placement day. It's a box being trapped in, and I don't know how
Or they
else
learn
to
the
be a
hard
parent
way.
when she's
Mr. Lake, I'm mainly cutting you off.
Tough love.
I don't need to get into
Yes.
more explanation from either side about why, what you're
Right.
telling me though confirms for me my orders that they have to be provided phones all the time, whether it's through both of your houses or phones that Miss Meyer Keeper provides that they have all the time. It's just the right choice then,
Hey,
because then
Fletcher.
that'll alleviate that issue and you can communicate with Angie and meet her at grandma's house or at the Citgo or whatever. Attorney Westmont, anything else? Unfortunately, I have to wrap up tonight at 11:15 with some people that I need to get in here.
Can you please have Mr. Light say what weeks he wants this summer by Friday? And so then Heather could respond back to him by the following week. We need to know what weeks he wants in June. And so if we could just know which weeks he's picking, so Heather could make plans. I guess the other suggestion is both kids have their birthdays in the summer, and maybe if that week could be alternated each year.
That's too much. That's too much.
If she's saying that's too much, she's okay if he picks it every year.
Yeah, that's whatever. He's gonna do it, and then I don't want to fight. The birthday weeks off limits.
Okay.
So
She
you're
does-
giving me a mixed message.
She doesn't want to fight.
I'm not
Well,
gonna I don't want to argument.
Your client needs to talk with you after and try to figure that out.
Yes.
If I need to clarify that, I will. And you can put that in writing and think through that if we need to adjust for their birthdays. Mr. Light, can you make that choice in the next couple of days for the week each month this summer that you'd like?
Do it by Sunday.
Please
have a full plate.
you broke up there.
Mr. Light, we're getting some feedback on your end or some delay. Maybe if you turn your video off, sometimes that helps the audio. Did you ask for Sunday, so let her know by the 16th?
I would like that, yes, please.
Okay, I'm gonna order you to figure out if you want to pick one of the next 2 weeks for June. You have to let her know that by tomorrow at the end of the day, because June is right here.
Yeah.
And then for July and August, you'll pick them by the 16th. And then Miss Meyer Keeper will pick, she'll just get the other week in June that Mr. Light does not pick. And then she'll pick her July and August weeks by no later than, can you do it by the 21st? Or do you want me to give you a full week till the 23rd?
Paid for a cabin based on the other one, so I had paid for
She's saying she paid for a cab in what week?
on the 21st through, because I thought this
Of
would be
June.
late, and then it's this week.
Okay,
So close to here for the kids.
in the last week of June.
Okay, so ma'am, you have a vacation planned for the last week of June?
From the 21st to the 26th, I was gonna drive them back and forth, but we had a little cabin at a campground. But it was based on the previous, and then I had a July 3rd thing where we rented I can't even remember the name of it, a cabana for them to see some fireworks. On the for the 3rd to the 5th. We were gonna bring him back on the 5th for his weekend.
Okay,
So,
and this,
but I don't
Mr.
think that's,
It's getting convoluted.
yeah, I don't think it's actually interrupted with the new holiday because it's mine, so never mind on that one, but
Mr. Light, did you have any planned vacations you paid for this summer?
I honestly, no, because I was waiting on the outcome of this.
Okay, and this is why I didn't proactively assign that for this year, because I didn't know what plans the parties had. So we are gonna say that Miss Meyer Keeper gets to keep her paid for plan from the 21st to the 26th. I don't know if that would be your weekend. I haven't counted them out under the order I made. No, it probably wouldn't be, because that would be the 4th weekend. Under the old order, it would have been your weekend, because it was the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd he had, and then you had the 4th, correct?
yeah, I had the 4th and the 5th when there was a 5th.
Sure. So you're gonna have, we're gonna keep it that way. I'm gonna make my new order effective as of July 1st.
Okay.
So you're gonna have, well, no, we're not gonna completely do that. I'm gonna switch the weeks starting in July. So you will keep that weekend. Mr. Light, you're gonna still have this weekend.
Good job, Judge. You hammer all that out with them. Good job. Good job. So they both have criminal charges against the other one going on. He's not allowed to get out of the car to get the medicine because he's not allowed to see the grandma. But the grandma is where they drop off the kids and pick up the kids. These people are a mess. They're going to be back. We know it. They're going to be back. First week, they're going to have issues. She didn't want him administering any meds to the kids. So she went to the doctor, and the doctor disagreed with her. The doctor's one of the ones that he had an issue with, saying that the doctor always takes her side. And the judge agrees with just that one person. But they're both completely bonkers, and they both keep trying to get the other one put in jail. Just put in jail. And the judge called them out on every single piece of what they did. Every single piece. I've not ever seen him do that before. I've seen him hint. I've seen him call people out on one or two things. That judge just called them out on all of their foolishness. Hi, JLM. Oh, that's so sad. Yeah, the kids suffer. I don't know how old the kids are, but I think they're still quite young. Because, the one was acting up in school because he was separated from the other. That's like younger kids. That's not like teenagers. Like if two teenagers, brother and sister, were separated for a week. I waved when you came in. Yeah, two teenagers would be like, good riddance. I'll text you. So, okay. So for anybody who weren't here from the beginning, I have a couple things that I want to do. All right. First off, Carolyn, this one was all for you. You're going to love this. I am gathering accents from the southern states. Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee. Let's put Georgia in there. And I'm going to make a video, Carolyn, on these accents without telling us where these accents are from. And then we're going to do a little game at some point once I'm done. And we're going to try to pick the accent. It's not about court. But a lot of my court cases have to do with accents because that's what I like. So we're going to play a game. We're going to try to see if we can't pick the southern accent. And that's going to be hilarious. And that's going to be fun. And just so you know, while gathering southern accents, there's a lot of cuss words involved. There's a lot of cussing going on, and maybe talk about alcohol. So get ready. Next, I'm not going to stream for the next couple of days because I got all these trials and stuff that I'm trying to get ready. I have to make a bunch of shorts because I have to. Dagnammit. And I have all this stuff piled up. I got to get the shirts done. I got to get the cups done. I got to get the merch done. And I'm like spinning circles trying to do 17 things, and then I'm dropping the ball on all 17. So I'm gonna stop streaming for a couple days. It's been months. I think I took off for Easter. So we can go a couple days without any streams. I'm still going to put videos out. I'm going to put these trials out. The next trial I put out, please don't feel you have to watch. Hi, Marsha. Marsha. Sorry, you did it. Please don't feel you have to watch the next video I put out. It's very, very horrible, sad. It's about a mother who, unlives her 5-month-old on purpose. So I'm going to put that out. That's from Florida. I want to try to get that bus that was pulled over today. And the last I heard, they were getting a shot victim, someone who was shot off the bus. I want to get that. There's another trial I want to get that I can't think of right now. It doesn't matter. Oh, I also have more Australian. I have to get on my Patreon. So I'm going to be putting stuff on Patreon. I'm going to be putting videos out here. I'm going to be putting shorts out. Try to catch up with all of this, and then I can start streaming again. So give me a couple of days. Plus, that'll give my computer time to get fixed. I lost my camera in the middle of the stream. And if you remember, the first thing that went down when my computer completely broke, my camera went down. So when I lost my camera in the middle of the stream, I started, a little PTSD going on here. I have another one, but right. I am going to still give you content. It's just not going to be in a live stream at 4:30 a.m. Just for a day or two. Come on, give me time. I or 3 or 4. I don't know yet. No, I can't go that long. Don't worry. I won't be able to. It's like heroin. You guys are like heroin. Just drink coffee. Or you can just play this stream over and over again at half speed. I like that idea. Not all the videos I put out are sad, guys. I got one that's hilarious. This guy is suing the jail. So I want to put that one together. He's suing the jail for something that happened a while ago. So let's not get our hopes up. I will definitely be on Discord, period. I'll be on Discord. I just need a couple of days off. Everybody takes a couple of days off. Hey, it's a wildlife. That's so cute. Is that a little fox say? What does the fox say? You'll see. Oh, I forgot. Also, so my audience is all not young, not teenagers, not TikTokers, not Instagrammers. I mean, I'm sure you guys use TikTok and Instagram, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. And the people our age like Facebook. So I started live streaming this on Facebook as well as YouTube. So every night I live stream. Yes, I did. I called you old. I'm old too. I was streaming here and the stream on Facebook. Well, Facebook changed their rules on the 10th, 2 days ago. It said you have to have 100 followers on Facebook to be able to live stream. Now, how the frick you're supposed to get 100 followers if you're not allowed to live stream is crazy to me. But I have some content on Facebook already. I'm going to upload just straight up videos and get a Facebook crowd. I'm telling you, that's where our crowd lives. So I'm going to try to get viewers from Facebook. I'm going to put some shorts out to get our numbers up, even though I don't give one fig about the numbers. I just want to trash everything that I'm doing and just keep doing lives. But I think I have to, so I'm going to. I assumed your identity as well. I assume what bathroom you use. I assume your pronoun. They. Your pronoun is they. Your gender is human. Maybe. I don't know. Your security. Yeah, raise your hand if you're on Facebook. Go ahead. Raise your hand if you're on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I'm on a Court Vibes. Ben Franklin called Donald an old buck. Oh, gosh, I forgot. Okay. So everybody who's here for the court videos, it's over now. It won't be on for a couple days. Don't get upset. I use unassuming pronouns to when possible. See, you're all on Facebook. Everybody's on Facebook. So that's my feeding ground. That's where I'm going to go grab some people who aren't on. You don't have to. You have my YouTube. I'll get to 100. I will get to 100. I'm positive I will. Tina, you're still a baby. You're 41. Vibes. Yep. Court Vibes. That's my Facebook. I'm not opening Facebook right now because I don't want my whole computer to Court Vibes. It's Court Vibes. It's the same icon and everything. So as soon as I get 100 followers, I can stream in both places and then promote over there. It's easier to promote over there than it is on YouTube. Hi, Reese. Oh, man, we got a real live mod, a Facebook mod in the house. How is Zuckerberg doing? Do you know him? What is Facebook, said Spud. Spud. It used to be all farmland. Like when I moved into Facebook, it was all farmland. But now it's not. Security, I have 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 Facebook profiles as well. Because of farmland. I do too, Sarah. I had a whole group of friends and we used to go tend each other's farms. What we would play a video game called Last Chaos, and then we all moved over to a video game called Aeon. Those are both MMORPGs. All right. But then while we were playing this and in dungeons with each other and getting gear and all that stuff, we would have our farms going. So our guilds would like tend each other's farms while we're doing dungeons. And it was awesome. India, UK, everywhere was in my chat. I had accents galore in my chat. Oh man, but the best was the guy from New York. He was foul, but he was so funny. I know, but everybody takes days off. I might sleep. I might just sleep a lot. What if I'm asleep at 4:30? Imagine that. Yes. Bye, honey. Of course I'm on MySpace. Of course I am. But you won't find me. I've been on MySpace since what? I don't know what time. Is Fozzie here? That's crazy. Sorry, I had to secretly take a drink. Can't do that on camera. I ate my whole dinner from last night while this trial was going on. I'm on CompuServe. I don't know, Spud. I think the other day I said I was going to throw a trout at someone and they understood what I meant. So IRC, baby. MIRC. I remember Yahoo Messenger back then, or AOL. I can't remember. No, it was Yahoo, where you could buzz the person you wanted to talk to. Buzz, buzz, buzz. You could keep sending out buzzes. That was awesome. It would annoy the hell out of my friends because I abused that power. I do not have dial-up, but some days it feels like it. Yeah, yeah, it was a dramatic reading of events, but this trial was, if you watch him, if you've seen any of my streams of him before, this trial was out of his character. Everything about this trial was just out of his character. And it was awesome. I loved this trial. Nobody else liked it. Don't worry, I saw all the comments. Nobody else liked it, especially Honey. Honey hated this trial. I loved it. I enjoyed every second of it. I enjoyed every single thing he told those parents they were doing wrong. Every single comment he made, I enjoyed. Yep, when she went to the doctor and she changed that he wasn't allowed to give the medicine anymore, that was awesome. And when she went to the police, and then it's awesome because she got in trouble for it, not because she did it. She has to go back to all those people that she said that he abused their children, and tell them all the truth, all the doctor's offices, all the principal at the school. And they have to either remove that comment from their records completely or add to their records that he was found guilty. He was found innocent of all charges. Legal, do you want a get rich quick scheme? If you send me $1, I'll send you a book on how to get rich quick. How to get rich quick. Yeah, I have a PayPal. Actually, I bought a book about how to get rich quick on the internet about 3 years ago for $30. I haven't seen the book yet. Just kidding. I wrote that book. Never mind. I was thinking about that Darkest Night. This is a legal channel, and people come to see court cases. And court cases are never, some of them are funny, but it's court. I had it on the screen the whole time. It's Court Vibes. Oh, no, it's not. It's Vibes Online Delivery at gmail.com. Vibes Online Delivery. And if you don't know how to spell that, email Fozzie. Yahoo Messenger Fozzie with the buzz. I need to get Fozzie a buzz so I can buzz him whenever I want something. Buzz, buzz, buzz. All right. I'm going to go to, I'm going to go to Discord for a bit today, just in case anybody wants to talk. I'll be there. You don't have to. You don't have to stay. You can leave me down in the room alone if you want to. I'm just there. If anybody wants to talk, I'll be there for a few. Did you guys play Buzz Jr., that game? Never mind. All right, I'm going to try to open Facebook. Here we go. Thanks. Oh, it opened fine. Now I'm going to try to find the link. It's Court Vibes. I was sort of hoping the link would just pop up at the top of the page, and it just says facebook.com, which is unbelievably unhelpful. Create ads, settings. I don't know if this is it or not. This might be it. Nope, that's definitely not the right link, guys. I know. I'll go to it as my other account, and then I'll get the link. See? Smarticle particle. Search Facebook. Court Vibes. This is it. All right, guys. That's my link to Facebook, which I don't know why you're going there because it's the same stream you're in. It's this. You'll see my comments from YouTube showing up on Facebook with no contents. context, because none of your comments are showing up, just mine. And that, but you've already seen the videos. You guys were all here anyway. I'm going to go Googling Facebook. I'll see you in Discord in about 5 minutes, maybe 4, because I'm all about being early today. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming out. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. I don't know when soon is, but very soon.